This is the most valuable video I have ever made. Here's how to not be stuck with tracking calories forever and still keep the weight off on a weight loss journey. Do you want to be tracking calories forever? Like in 5 years, 10 years down the line, after you lose all the weight that you need to lose, do you still want to be tracking calories? The answer is no, and if you said yes, you're fucking lying to yourself. Here's how to not be stuck with tracking calories forever and still make progress without having MyFitnessPal on your phone. I'm going to dive into the exact system that I give to myself and to my clients to print results without being reliant on tracking the numbers and the food scale and being a slave to all these apps and numbers and giving yourself an eating disorder. I call it my 4-step food accountability system. So here's how traditional weight loss goes. You decide you want to lose weight, but you don't want to do it right now, so you pick a start date a week or a month or a year down the line. Then once you actually start, you download MyFitnessPal, you get into the gym, you don't have a plan to follow, and you just go way too hard, way too fast on all fronts, and you end up quitting after about a week or two. It's pretty fucking useless, and I guarantee if you're watching this video, you haven't done it more times than me before I failed. It's absolutely useless, and it's a mistake that everybody makes. And trust me, I made it more times than you did. I can promise you that. I tried to lose weight incorrectly about 10 times before I finally did it correctly. So to prevent anyone else from getting stuck in that hellish loop, I created a system that teaches people how to track calories sustainably, allows people to still have full control over their eating and never follow a meal plan, teaches people how to lose weight and still go out to eat, and God forbid even go on a vacation and still enjoy themselves while still making progress, all while maintaining a healthy relationship with food. Here's how it works. Step 1, establish a food journal. A food journal is exactly what it sounds like. You're simply just writing down what you eat every single day. It sounds simple because it is. It's supposed to be. It's the perfect first step to get you into food accountability and being aware of what you're eating without having to rip your hair out of tracking your calories off the rip. It's going to immediately change how you look at food and increase your accountability and overall awareness of what you're actually eating. It's extremely important that this is the absolute first step. This is the money maker. Step 2, tracking your protein. If you don't know by now, my whole process around weight loss is through something I like to call micro habits. We break down the big concepts into smaller, easier to digest chunks, and that's why we're starting with a food journal. The second step is tracking your protein. These micro habits work. So instead of jumping in head first and tracking all the numbers all at once, now let's just track one number at a time now that we've got a handle on food journaling. The number we're going to be tracking is obviously protein, and here's how you find how much protein you're supposed to be eating. It's really simple. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. A lot of people will say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Other people will say like 0.8 kilograms per pound of lean mass. All I like to say is stick your goal weight in pounds, and that's the amount of protein you should be shooting for each day. So if your goal weight is 180 pounds, you should be shooting for 180 grams of protein per day. Just simple. Just give yourself something to follow. The point behind the protein goal is just to start eating more protein. That's really it. And you don't have to hit your protein goal every single day religiously, especially from the jump. Just get used to tracking the number. And by tracking that number of protein, you're going to have a better idea of finding what high protein foods look like, which ones you like, and then over time, it's going to become easier for you to stick to hitting your goal consistently. It's not an overnight thing. Ever. If you are going on a big weight loss journey, you are going to be far more likely to tracking one number and sticking to it than tracking all the numbers, especially at the beginning. So do not skip this step. That moves us on to step 3, the big kahuna, tracking calories. So once you've proven to yourself that you can track protein consistently, stick to a food journal consistently, it's time to start adding the calories. And the first step into the stage is definitely going to be downloading a calorie tracking app. I highly recommend the app Lose It. No, I'm not affiliated or sponsored or anything. I just think it's a far better app. It's free. It has all the features MyFitnessPal does, and it's way easier to read, and it's the one I recommend to most of my clients. And since MyFitnessPal launched their paid version, it's kind of shit now. But once you get into the app and you kind of get comfortable with the actual layout and understand what you need to do to actually put the calories in the calculator, you're going to realize you've been preparing for this stage subconsciously for the last 4 weeks or however long you've been doing this. The protein tracking was preparation for this moment. It's going to be a much easier transition into tracking calories because now all we're doing is just tracking one more number. But remember, the goal of our fat loss is to be in a calorie deficit. So this is the number that's going to matter most in terms of fat loss. Because we've been tracking protein for a couple weeks, we now know how to read food labels a little bit more efficiently, which is going to make calorie tracking just that much easier. And a pro tip here, do not track your calories down to like the exact specific number. Just give yourself round numbers, round up a little bit, overestimate just a touch, and give yourself easy math to work with. So a good example is if you have a meal and it's 471 calories, just round it up to 500. It's going to be way easier in the long run to just round up to those bigger numbers. Basically just operate in numbers that end in 5 or 0. Again, this is not something that needs to be perfect from the jump. You will do this for a long time, so let's just get it right the first time. Keep it easy. And the final step, the most important step that everybody overlooks, are tracking breaks. I'd argue for the long run, this is the most important part of the process, and I cannot stress enough why more people should be taking tracking breaks. I see it way too often in the fitness industry, even in the most prominent influencers on TikTok and YouTube. People see progress, they get addicted to seeing progress, they get addicted to the numbers, and the calorie tracking then becomes a crutch for them to rely on for their fitness. What happens in 3, 5, 10 years when they're no longer tracking every last number and they don't feel the need to because they've achieved what they want to achieve in the fitness realm and they just want to maintain a healthy body weight? Tracking calories is less important in that stage. How are they going to do that? They are addicted to the numbers, and that is, my friends, what we call an eating disorder. And I'm speaking from experience here because during my weight loss journey, I had a 6-month spell where I was addicted to the numbers, and I had a very unhealthy relationship with food, and I took the following 6 months after my weight loss journey to heal it. This is serious shit. If you've ever had an eating disorder, it's fucking hell. Do not take this for granted. So, how do we take tracking breaks? There's 2 ways to do it. You can do it cold turkey, not tracking anything for a week, no protein, no journals, no nothing. Or you can go back to food journaling. So you don't have any calories, you don't have any numbers, you're just writing down what you eat in a food journal. If you're on an extended weight loss journey, I recommend incorporating both. What these tracking breaks do is not only give you a little bit more of a peace of mind, but allows you to identify some of the cravings that you may not have noticed before because there's so many numbers attached to it. A good example that I saw in a client a couple weeks ago is they took a tracking break and then they're like, wow, I really have a craving for chocolate late at night now that I'm not having any numbers attached to it. And because of that reason, we started incorporating chocolate once they got back to tracking their calories. And now we've addressed a problem that would have came out bigger and badder in the future. So now we addressed the problem, we eliminated the situation, we added more of his fun foods into his diet, and things are smooth sailing, and he's making a ton of progress. This is why tracking breaks are so important. Not only are you getting a mental break, you are also identifying and still doing work. You are still seeing what problems could possibly be arising when the numbers go away. So my recommended approach after you've been tracking calories for a month or 2 is take a food journal break first. So just food journal for a week, and then if you want, the following week, if things go well, take another week to where you don't track anything. Slowly ramp it down and then slowly ramp it back up. The cold turkey approach can kind of cause some abrupt changes on some people. But the biggest, absolute most apparent benefit to taking tracking breaks frequently throughout your calorie tracking journey and your weight loss journey is that's going to make the end of the journey that much easier. When you reach the point where you're at your goal weight and you understand the basics of nutrition and fitness and you know how to sustain a healthy body weight and you are no longer trying to actively burn fat, this is where this comes in handy. You know how to slowly and sustainably walk away from the numbers while still making progress. I'll touch on this more in another video because it's going to take me way too long to explain it here. So in summary, we go from beginning to end. Step 1, start a food journal. Do this for a few weeks. Establish some intention with your eating. Establish that accountability. Build that habit first. Then, step 2, start tracking your protein instead of diving in head first. Track that protein, get used to increasing your protein overall to make yourself more full, and give yourself one number to track instead of all the numbers to track. Step 3, track your calories. Once you've been a little bit more accustomed to building the habit of tracking your food and writing down what you eat, tracking the calories is just adding one more number to the equation. It's going to be 10 times easier and 10 times smoother. This is going to be the longest phase of the fat loss. This is where you're going to spend the majority of your fat loss journey. And this is why step 4 is so important, because we want to make sure through the 3-month period, 4-month period, however long your deficit period is of you tracking your calories, we want to make sure about once every 1 to 2 months, you take a week-long tracking break. This is going to identify any hidden problems in your mindset, identify any hidden cravings that you may not have found beforehand, and it's going to make the end of the journey 10 times easier. So now you already know the beginning, the middle, and the end of your tracking and weight loss journey. This is a system that I've been implementing for my clients for the last 6 months, and it absolutely prints results without ever giving anybody any eating disorders. I developed this system because I wanted to help people in a way to where they could still lose weight, but realize that the calorie tracking is simply just a tool and not something to be relied on. When I was there, I gave myself a ton of disordered eating habits, and I needed to fix it. I never would wish that upon my worst enemy. So by doing this and implementing this with my clients, we have been able to print results, show people how to track progress sustainably, and make progress with or without calorie tracking. It's an absolute dream scenario. And that's about it for my 4-step system on how to lose weight without being absolutely 100% reliant on calorie tracking forever, because nobody wants to track calories for the rest of their life. If you enjoyed my 4-step accountability system for food and my different approach on weight loss, make sure you hit subscribe and drop a comment. Let me know if you liked it or not.